I just can't fathom leaving my friends, my family. I'm going to get ostracized. They're going to think I'm crazy, and I'm probably going to lose my entire social network if I make this sort of decision. I think Judaism today is different than the way God wants Judaism to be. I don't think God wants us to be satisfied just with tradition and just with ritual. I don't think traditions in and of themselves are evil or bad, but I think God wants something much more than that with us. He wants our hearts, and He wants us to have a close relationship with Him. One day I was sitting at a restaurant eating by myself, and a stranger came down and sat across from me and just started going on and on and on about Jesus for like 15 minutes. I sat there silently thinking, this guy's nuts, but what am I going to do? So at the end of the conversation, he says, so what do you think about all this? And I said, well, honestly, I'm Jewish. I don't really have much to say. And he got so excited. He was just thrilled that I was Jewish, and that he told me that he loved the Jewish people and that he loved Israel. And he was just, his eyes lit up. He was ecstatic. And I said, wait, why are you so excited that I'm Jewish? I thought the more Christian you are, the more you dislike Jews. But he said, no, man. He's like, if a Christian knows the Bible, they love the Jewish people. The summer of my sophomore year, I was invited, or I should say recruited, to do a crazy summer job, selling books door to door. Sounds nuts. This little Jewish boy selling books door to door. It got even crazier. They were sending me off to the Bible Belt to do it. The summer became more interesting. When we got to Henderson, North Carolina, we had to knock on doors to find a place to live for the summer. We weren't going to stay in a hotel because we're trying to keep our expenses down. There were 4 of us actually, and we ended up, having to knock on all the doors in this town, trying to find a family crazy enough to put up, a couple of college kids for the summer. We ended up finding one family that thought we're crazy. Really remarkable family. They had 3 kids, and they rearranged their entire household to bring in these college kids to sleep in their home. Very, very hospitable. So that first night, staying with them, the father who took us in, he asked me to step into the kitchen. He wanted to talk to me for a few minutes. So of course, this guy is showing me hospitality. I said, whatever you want, I'll be happy to talk. And he starts telling me this story about how he met Jesus, and about how he became, how he got delivered from cocaine addiction, and how when he invited Jesus into his life, the room shook. And he was just telling me this crazy story. I'm like, what is going on here? So I called my mom that night. I'm like, Mom, I found an amazing family. They're letting us stay with them, but he's telling me about Jesus. Mom's like, don't listen to that guy. He's nuts. Just be happy he took you in, but don't pay too much attention to what he's saying. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. So the summer goes on, and obviously I'm knocking on doors, knocking on, hundreds and hundreds of doors. And it seemed like almost every day I was running into people that were very, very excited about Jesus and talking about God all the time. And I knocked on a door, and a guy answered the door and said, hey, do you know Jesus? And I said, no, I'm Jewish. And he said, so that doesn't matter. Everyone needs to know Jesus. I'm like, I don't think so. That's not what I've been taught. It was almost like I was being bombarded by the gospel. Of course, I was in the Bible Belt, so I shouldn't have been too surprised by that. But I had never really been presented with who Jesus was and why a Jew would even need to consider who he was. I mean, these people obviously strongly believed what they were believing in. They were very sincere, very loving, very kind people. And quite honestly, I was a little bit jealous of their sincerity and of the obvious closeness that they had with God. So as a Jew, I'm like, wait a minute, this is something that I'm supposed to have. I'm a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I mean, I'm supposed to have the direct connection with God, right? But yet these Gentile Christians seem to be closer to my God than I am. So one night in bed, before I was going to sleep, I actually was crying to God about this. I actually had tears, and I literally cried out to God, and I said, God, is Jesus the Messiah? And is this something that I need to make a decision about? I know that if I go and talk to a rabbi, he's going to tell me, no, he's not the Messiah. And if I go and talk to a priest or pastor, he's going to tell me something else. So I said to God, God, you need to show me what the truth is here, because I know that man's going to have their own opinions. And I can't say that a lightning struck or that I saw a vision at that moment, but something changed in my heart from that point forward. I went from being angry and annoyed when I ran into these Christians to actually being interested to hear more about who this Jesus guy really was. Anyway, the summer continued. I had a great time selling books, worked really hard, made a lot of money, ended up going back to campus, and my grades were still good. I still was having fun. I bought a new car, put in a car stereo system. I really had everything that I wanted as a college kid. But I began to realize that I still had that emptiness in my heart. The money didn't really make me any happier. The new car didn't make me any happier. The booming car stereo didn't make me any happier. Partying didn't make me happier. And I just began to reflect on what I had experienced during the summer. It all kind of came to a head during finals week. I was walking to the library, and on the way to the library, I took a little detour because I saw a crowd of people. And as the crowd kind of got out of the way, the banner said, "Are you going to heaven? 2-question test reveals the answer." And I said, oh my gosh. It was almost like the whole summer and that semester kind of led up to that point, that pinnacle. God had answered my prayer, and it had changed my heart, and had sent all these people to continue talking to me about Jesus. And here it was laid out in front of me. It was almost like God gave me, this was like my final exam. Am I going to accept him or not? He said, well, Matt, you need to make a decision. Do you want to please God, or do you want to please man? A lot of Jews, myself included, think that once you believe in Yeshua, that you're turning your back on your heritage. I didn't want to betray my people in any way. My Jewishness was very important to me. And, when I realized that as a follower of Yeshua, as a believer in him, that it's not a betrayal of our heritage. In fact, it's a fulfillment of it. I remember reading when, Yeshua said that he did not come to abolish the Torah or the Haftorah, but to fulfill it. I was very excited when I read that, because I realized, wait a minute, I can believe in Yeshua and not abandon my Jewishness. In fact, it's the most Jewish thing I could possibly do. What could be more Jewish than a Jew believing in the Jewish Messiah?